Thanks for joining us for Season 5 of the Service to School Stories podcast. I'm Sydney Mathis, your host and Chief Program Officer at Service to School. This season, we wanted to highlight some of our incredible alumni and dive deeper into their stories. You'll hear from a variety of student veterans about their journey from the military through the admissions process and onto campus. Guests will share how they overcame challenges, and we'll look back on their journey to give some advice along the way. Let's kick it off. Welcome everyone back to the Service to School Stories podcast. I'm your host today, Sydney Mathis, and I am joined today by Karyna Bravo. Karyna will be sharing her story with us as she is a current student in the PA program at Stanford. So Karyna is a veteran from the Marine Corps. She was an E5. She also has an impressive academic background. You're a 2024 Tillman Scholar. So really excited. Congrats on that. That's a huge accomplishment. But we're going to be chatting with you today about your journey through the military and on to your new career pursuing medicine. So Karyna, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and dive in. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about you, your background in the military, and kind of where you're at in your career today?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Chicago. After high school, I joined the Marine Corps. I was stationed in Miramar. And like you mentioned, I'm currently studying medicine at Stanford, and I'm going to become a PA. So yeah, I'm super, super excited about telling you guys about my journey.
For sure. So let's talk a little bit about your time in the Marine Corps. What was your job in the Marines?
Yeah, so when I was in the Marine Corps, I was motivated supply. And if I'm being honest, I never thought I would be in medicine. Like if you would have told, Private Macias that I would be even going to Stanford, I think that was crazy. And I think what started my academic journey while I was in the Marine Corps was really that my corporal encouraged me to go back to school. I originally, from Chicago. I came from a low-income community, so there was a lot of challenges that came with that, and so I was a little hesitant on going back to school because I wasn't sure how much I was going to excel academically. But I did. I took his advice and I decided to start there. And I did the tuition assistance. And there was a community college over there in San Diego. It was called Miramar College. And I attended there. And I was actually very happy with how I was doing academically. My first few classes, I was doing really good. So I'm like, okay, maybe I can do this, right? Like maybe I have a chance to excel in school. So yeah.
Yeah. Talk to us. So was it once you got to Miramar that you decided to maybe go the medicine route?
No. So I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I just took kind of like prereqs here and there. I took some math classes, a history class. I think that after my deployment was when I really solidified what I wanted to do. I also wasn't sure about getting out because I love the Marine Corps. Like I was so motivated and I really thought, I could take this career long term. But I did end up getting out and I decided I wanted to study psychology. So about a year before transitioning out of the military, that's kind of when I started looking at different schools and different programs. And again, I was very, very new to this. So like I had to do a lot of research on my own and try to figure it out. I wish I would have known about service to school. But unfortunately that was, back in 2015. So,
Yeah.
and I hadn't heard about it. So what I did and how I looked for schools was, one, I wanted to make sure that they accepted my military transcripts, because I heard that could really help you academically, like cut down your time. Another thing was like, do they take the yellow ribbon? Because, schools are so expensive nowadays, like you need to have someone else paying for that other half.
Yeah.
And then, so once and I wanted to move back home too. I was looking in schools in Chicago and Loyola University was the best fit. So I applied there and they took a lot of my military transcripts and I graduated with a psych degree in 2 years.
Wow.
So that was the biggest blessing. And yeah, so I was very fortunate for that.
Yeah. So you talked about that took a lot of credits, which then allowed you to, kind of accelerate that time through education. How did you pay for that education at Loyola? Because you used tuition assistance for the credits while on active duty. Did you use your GI Bill for
Yeah.
for your time at
So
Loyola?
so I did use my GI Bill. Later on, I'll talk about so the state of Illinois actually gives you another 4 years of education on top of your GI Bill. So I throughout my career, I did end up using that eventually. But yeah, for that first 2 years, I did use the GI Bill. Another thing that I wasn't aware of until I actually got to Loyola was applying for FAFSA.
Mm.
So you actually, if you have the GI Bill paying for your education, you could actually get that money back for FAFSA. And for me, I'm barely getting out of the Marine Corps. That was like a big help because I was still trying to figure out my transition, like how am I going to do this on my own without the military? So yeah, that was also something that I would recommend veterans to look into. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the FAFSA, we try and encourage students every single year to submit their FAFSA, and they're like, "Well, I don't need it. I have the GI Bill." And I'm like, "Just you have no idea what free money you are missing out on, on top of the
Yes.
GI Bill." And that's one of our most popular webinars that we host is how to maximize the GI Bill. So great suggestion and a piece of advice there.
Yeah. So a little bit about like my transition, like so after I got a little bit before graduating, I heard that it was very hard to get a job in psych. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about how I got my first
Yeah.
job. So everyone had told me, it's very hard. Is the market is saturated. It's very hard to get a job in clinical psychology. So what I decided to do was actually I knew I wanted to work in PTSD and trauma. So what I decided to do is I just looked up on Google like top researchers in Chicago who are doing PTSD, right? PTSD research,
Mhm.
and I like found out how to get their email, and I just made the best email. Like, and I think I got like around 10 PhDs in the area, and so then I wrote up an email. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I'm very interested in PTSD. I saw that your lab is focused on this. I would love to just volunteer. And so out of all those 10 researchers, only one emailed me back.
Oh, wow.
And it ended up being this lady who was doing tremendous research on veterans with PTSD at the Road Home program. I'm not sure if you've heard of the Road Home program, but
No.
so anyways, the Road Home is an organization that um, basically flies out veterans all over the United States to get intensive treatment for PTSD. And they do a lot of just wonderful work in Chicago. And so, yeah, she gave me an opportunity to volunteer there. And eventually she hired me. And within a few months, she's like, you know what? Like, I think that you would be a great asset to the lab. And your experience in the military is just, just help our clinical
Absolutely.
knowledge and stuff like that. So yeah, that's how I ended up getting my first research straight out of undergrad. Research
Wow.
out of undergrad, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, great for you for, advocating for yourself and going out and seeking those opportunities. I think a lot of times people think, oh, well, I'm going to have a bachelor's degree or I'm going to have any degree, right? And it's like, well, that should be, enough to get me a job or get my foot in the door. But I mean, even in, the job market today, like a degree itself isn't enough.
Mhm.
So having those, people in your corner that you can, kind of go to and seek advice and kind of, how did they do it and how did they get to where they're at? I mean, good on you for going out and, being proactive and kind of making those network and connections happen. Was that experience what led you to apply to PA programs?
Yeah, so originally I loved research. I loved the population that I was doing research on. But our research also was doing some investigations on are there genes that predisposition you to certain mental health issues, right? And as we were doing that investigation and another one too, we were looking at the microbiome, how your microbiome or your gut bacteria impacts your mental health. And so I found myself more interested in the like medicine behind it and
Hmm.
also the patient interactions. Like when I was dealing with these veterans or just screening them for their PTSD symptoms and their depression symptoms, I really just enjoyed those moments. So then I realized I needed to kind of veer off of research and kind of start thinking about a different career path. And so then I ended up deciding I wanted to go to medical school. So that was my first approach to my career in medicine. And I ended up working in research part-time and then going to go do a post-bac.
Yeah. So we had talked about that before when we were talking about you coming on the podcast. Help our listeners understand, what is a post-bac? How do you research those programs? Like, walk us through that process, start to finish, for you.
Yeah, so for me, I saw that Loyola had a post-bac and I was familiar with Loyola, so I just ended up going with them. And a post-bac is basically, if you don't have the prerequisites to apply to medical school, you could do that and a post-bac, and they will kind of help you just take all those courses. So you're not technically back in undergrad, but you are taking a lot of the undergrad
Same
courses.
undergrad courses. Yeah.
Yeah.
And did the GI Bill cover that?
Yes.
Or was it the Illinois grant?
No, not yet. So it was still the GI Bill at that point. Yeah.
Got it. That's good to know too. We see, as you can imagine, undergraduate students signing up, and they either earned a degree while they were on active duty, or they're close to completing a degree in an unrelated field, and they want to, do a career switch and pursue medicine. So, I would say at least once or twice a month, we're talking with students that are interested in researching post-bac programs. So how many classes did the post-bac require? And then kind of how was the support from the post-bac program or the community in terms of applying to PA programs?
Yeah, how many courses? I can't remember exactly how many courses. I had to do the bio, organic chemistry, biochem, physics. And I mean, I think it took me about like a year and a half, and it was very, very challenging. Those are like some of the toughest courses you will ever take. And I spent long hours studying, office hours, going to tutoring to get the best grades possible. But yeah, so sorry, I forgot your other questions. What were the other ones? The support?
Yeah, no, how did that prepare your applications for the medical programs?
So it fulfilled all my requirements for medical school. But actually what I learned later when I decided to switch to PA school, it didn't, I missed some courses because PA school requires different courses than medical school. So yeah, I wish I would have learned early on about the PA profession. And if I could give anyone advice, is shadow different healthcare professionals, like really get to know what everyone does and see what career is a good fit, and it will save you a lot of time.
Yeah. And when did you have the opportunity to shadow those different professionals in the industry?
So it was towards the end of my post-bac. I actually wanted to shadow physicians because it was part of, I thought it would get me into medical school a little bit faster, like not faster, but it would make me a more competitive applicant. And so I was trying to shadow physicians, and it is very hard to get somebody to accept that, to let you shadow them. But what the clinics would always say is, do you want to shadow our advanced practice providers? Do you want to shadow a PA? Do you want to shadow an NP? And me, I'm just like, oh, I just want to learn about medicine. So I'm like, sure, like, let me just shadow them. And then that's what exposed me to APPs, or advanced practice providers. And up until that point, I had really just like narrowed my vision to medical school, and I was not willing to listen to explore any other option, because I'm like, no, I'm going to be a doctor. Like that's my end goal. But then when I started seeing PAs, and I'm just like, wait, what? Like, and I even think I might have like offended them in a way, because when I was shadowing, I'm like, wait, so you're coming up with a treatment plan? And then they'd be like, yeah, like, of course. And I'm like, wait, you're doing this all by yourself? And like, so it was just like, for me, it was such a shock, right? But yeah, so then that's when I learned that, they could treat, diagnose, prescribe, they can assist in surgery. And it's a 2-year program, and they have a lot of lateral mobility where they don't have to specialize. So they could literally, a PA could work in OB-GYN for 10 years and then decide, you know what, I want to switch to internal medicine. And they could do that without any residency or without any further training, because we're trained as generalists. So I thought that was like an awesome deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And how did you research programs? Like, how did you end up at Stanford?
Yeah, so there was a few things that I looked into. One, I wanted to make sure that their views aligned with mine. I want to serve in an underserved community. So I saw that that was Stanford's mission. Um, Another thing was like diversity. I'm a first generation Latina, so I really wanted that to be kind of part of my training, like learning about disparities within different communities. Stanford also has their program with medical students. So the PA program, in the beginning, we start off with them, and then eventually towards the end of our education, we start kind of branching out and going our own separate ways. But for the most part, I wanted to just interact with them, with medical students early on, so they could see the level of training that I have and I could see where they're coming from, right? At the
Hmm.
end of the day, healthcare is a supportive team. So I just wanted to feel connected and just build that teamwork early on. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about that teamwork in that community, because one of the other things that I know you're really passionate about is getting more veterans in medicine. So are there a lot of veterans in your program? If not in the PA program, you had that chance to interact with the med students. What is that veteran community like there?
Yeah, it's very limited, and this is where I think that we really need to try to strive to go into medicine because there's so many needs that we need within the VA, and not only that, but we need to educate healthcare providers on the experiences that we had. I think I was reading a paper that said only about 7% of providers outside of the VA and TRICARE know about military culture, right? And the military is such an important aspect of our life. Like, one, you have to understand what deployment life was, how deployment impacted our health, right? We have things going on with lung issues that is coming up because of the burn pits and all that stuff. So as a clinician, if a veteran comes up to me, I want to know at least a little bit about what they're struggling through and what they went, through in the military. Um, Not only that, cultural competency has shown that it increases compliance within patients, right? So I think it's very important for us to teach medical trainees about that. And, surprisingly, when I got to Stanford, I realized that before going to our rotations at the VA, we don't get any education on this population. So we're kind of just going in there expecting them to be like any other patient, but yet they have all these experiences that they went through that I think we need to be aware of. And it will also like help our clinical judgment if we know about, just military culture and deployment life and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And why is it, do you think, that there's maybe a smaller percentage of veterans that are pursuing medicine?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think the road is just so long. You have to have a lot of grit, which we have it. It's just
Yeah.
like, and then not only that, I think finding mentors in our community is also very challenging. Um, so I think just like being able to connect with other people who are also going on the same route,
Mhm.
is very, very important. Um, Not only that, but like I'm sure mental health, and once we get out of the military, is such a hard that transition is brutal, man. I don't know, like I even struggled through it, like just trying to find my purpose, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes I think that that could really knock you down and like um kind of serve as a deterrent for not wanting to seek higher education. But the thing is like we I would love to see more veterans in medicine just because sorry. We'll be able to um just help others learn about, that transition process and stuff like that. Yeah.
And for your time in medicine, is that being covered by the GI Bill? And then also, um, what is the makeup of your class like, right? Because I think about a lot of, you said it takes a long time to get through, medical programs. I think about a lot of our students who are coming out of the military, they're 24 going into undergrad, and then they're like, I'm going to be in my mid 30s by the time I'm, even done, starting with some of the pursuing a new career, right? So what is the makeup of your student body like? And then again, like how are you funding your medical education?
Yeah, so I have been fortunate enough to get VocRehab. I was actually just found eligible last quarter. So that's I don't know how I got it, but I did end up getting it. And I had heard about another veteran in our program who he kind of guided me through the process and like told me a little bit about like what it was. So that's how I'm currently paying for
Love
PA
it.
school. Um, and then let's see, the makeup. So actually, a lot of us are older,
Yes.
which is very strange, but it's good. Um, so before PA school, you do need some clinical experience. They expect you to have around 2,000 hours of some sort of
Wow.
patient care experience. So because of that, we've taken a few gap years or growth years, as I would like to say.
I like that
So
better.
yeah. So yeah, so it's very nice just having an older generation or older population just because you can relate to
Hmm.
them. You know that, you
Absolutely.
know, you're and then it's also really cool that a lot of them are like non-traditional students, like so they originally started off in something else and then found out about the PA profession later on and now they're going into PA school. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Ooh, so some other kind of like career switchers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I think a lot of students, as I mentioned, starting undergrad older, but I mean, we even have students starting undergrad that are, 40s and 50s and are kind of trying to figure out how do I find my place in a younger academic area. So it's nice to hear, that you feel that your cohort and your class is a little bit more seasoned or mature, if you will,
Yeah.
in their life experiences. And I think that stands out so much in the admissions process for a wide variety of degree fields, right? Like you saying, having those clinical hours, but also bringing different perspectives and life experiences and career paths just makes for such a more enriching, classroom conversation, but also academic experience. What's been the best part of being at Stanford?
Oh man. The people you meet, honestly. Like I was hesitant on coming to Stanford because I'm from Chicago. I love Chicago. Like you cannot like I mean I just yeah, I couldn't imagine leaving home. And when I got here, I realized that these interactions that I've had with other people like are I would never be able to interact with them outside of Stanford. Like I would never get these opportunities. Like for example, with Steve Kerr, the Warriors coach, was teaching a class at some point, and he was teaching about leadership, right? And I'm just like, what are the odds that I would be getting a class by Steve Kerr, you know? And then
Yeah.
also General Mattis came by and taught a class, and I took his class, and then he ended up coming to campus and meeting with all the veterans and we were just kind of all there hanging out and I'm like this is crazy, like my life is just like it's insane the opportunities Stanford gives you, and not only that but within the School of Medicine you're seeing all the top research that's being done and you just get
Hmm.
inspired to be the best version of yourself. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you see yourself going back and practicing in Chicago once you
Oh
graduate?
yeah, yeah, I'm definitely going back home. I don't know. Hopefully long term, I see myself either working at Northwestern. I kind of want to be part of their PA program and also like practice clinically.
Mhm.
Um, so we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for anyone listening, either undergraduate or students who are on our healthcare professionals team, what's the one piece of advice you have?
Yeah, I think just don't give up. Like sometimes doors will close, but don't worry, other ones will open. And I think also don't accept no, right? I for like the research example, so many people told me that they weren't interested in having me go to their lab. But all you need is one person to say yes, and it opens the door to a great opportunity. So just be resilient as you're going through your path.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, the knowledge that you've dropped with the being proactive, using VocRehab, so many students don't know about it right now. It's like once a week I'm telling a new student, hey, go check and see if you're eligible.
Yeah.
But then also just, like pushing through and knowing that, there's a lot of opportunities available within education, to kind of see where you find your best fit. So, Karyna, thank you so much for being on the podcast with us this season. Really excited to see all the work that you continue to do. And if Service to School can ever be of assistance, if you decide to continue on the education path or making any connections, we're truly here to support you however we can.
Great. Thank you very much.
That's all we have for this episode. Join us next week, same time, same place, where we share more Service to School stories. Service to School Stories is hosted by Sydney Mathis, Chief Program Officer, and Alec Emmert, Service to School CEO. Our podcast is produced and edited by our Director of Communication, Amanda Tobias. Service to School is a 501c3 nonprofit providing free college admission support to transitioning service members and veterans. Join us next week and follow us for more on your favorite social media platforms.